I worked nights at a residential care home for nearly 3 years. 42 beds, long corridors that smelled of disinfectant and old carpets. The kind of place that goes very, very quiet after 10 o'clock. Most nights were the same. You did your checks, made your teas, helped whoever needed it, and you sat at the nurse's station reading or staring at the clock. I didn't mind the quiet. I actually liked it. There was something peaceful about being the only one awake in a building full of sleeping people, like being the keeper of something. That feeling went away in November. It started with sounds. Now, care homes have sounds, pipes, heating systems, the occasional call bell, residents who wander. None of that is unusual. You learn to filter it out after a few weeks on the job. But this was different. It was coming from the far end of the corridor, from Ward D, the wing we used for residents with more advanced needs. Mostly nonverbal by then, mostly bedbound. It sounded like humming, a low, tuneless humming. Not distressed, not musical, just constant. I assumed it was Ethel. She was in her 80s, and she'd sometimes drift in and out of sleep humming old hymns. I walked down to check on her. Ethel was fast asleep, mouth open, not making a sound. The humming was still happening. I stood in the doorway of her room and listened. It was coming from further down, from room 14. Room 14 was empty. It had been empty for 6 weeks. The last resident, a man named Harold, had passed away in September. The room had been cleaned out, the bed stripped, the window left slightly open to air it out. I told myself it was wind, or pipes, or my own tired mind playing tricks after a long week of nights. I walked to the door of room 14. I put my hand on the handle. The humming stopped. I opened the door. Empty, stripped bed, bare mattress, window closed. I was certain I had left it open. I told my supervisor the next morning. She gave me that look, the one that says you're new enough to still be spooked by old buildings. She said the ward had character. She said I'd get used to it. I went home and slept for 9 hours straight. The following Tuesday, I was back on nights. Everything was normal until about 1:30 in the morning. I was at the station doing handover notes when I heard it again. The humming. This time I didn't hesitate. I walked straight down the corridor, pushed open the door of room 14, and turned on the overhead light. There was a chair in the middle of the room. Not a hospital chair, a wooden dining chair with a curved back. I had never seen it before. It did not belong to the home. None of us could explain where it came from. It was placed facing the window. I reported it to management. They were baffled. CCTV on that corridor showed nothing entering or leaving that room. Between my check at midnight and my discovery at 2:30, the chair was removed. The room was locked. 3 nights later, I was doing my rounds when I noticed the light under room 14's door. The room was locked. We had the only key, but the light was on. I opened it. The chair was back. I handed in my notice the following morning. I still don't know what was sitting in that chair. I don't know what it was waiting for. I don't think it was Harold. I think it was something that had been there long before Harold, long before any of us. Something that simply preferred the night. Submitted by a night shift stock operative from Manchester, England. The warehouse I worked in was the size of a small village. I'm not exaggerating. It had its own internal road system. Forklifts that drove themselves along pre-programmed routes. A section so deep inside the building that natural light never reached it at all. We called that section the back. Nobody liked working the back. It was cold even in summer. The lights flickered, and the shelving went up so high you couldn't see the ceiling properly. You just worked and tried not to think about how far you were from the exit. There were 8 of us on nights. We each had a zone. Mine was C through F, the back started at G. This happened about 4 months into the job. A Thursday night, which meant the building was quieter than usual. Fewer deliveries, fewer forklifts moving, just the hum of the refrigeration units and the distant sound of scanners beeping. I was working row F12 when my scanner lost signal. This happened occasionally near the refrigeration units. You walked until it came back. Standard procedure. I moved towards the G section boundary, holding up the scanner, waiting for the bars to return. That's when I saw the man. He was standing about 30 meters down in the G section, just standing there, facing the shelving, not moving. He was wearing a high-vis vest, which wasn't unusual. What was unusual was that his vest was yellow. Ours were orange. Contractors wore blue. I had never seen a yellow vest in that building. I called out, "All right, mate, you lost?" He didn't turn around. I figured he had earphones in. I walked towards him. He was maybe 15 meters away when the overhead lights in G section went out. All of them, the entire section, plunged into dark. I stopped walking. I had a head torch, but I hadn't brought it that night. I stood at the boundary of F and G, straining my eyes into the black. "Hello?" I said. Quieter this time. Nothing. The lights came back on after about 20 seconds. 20 seconds that felt considerably longer than that. The G section was empty. I radioed the site manager and asked if any contractors were in that night. He checked the sign-in log. Nobody. Just the 8 of us on the regular team. I asked if anyone else had been near G section. Nobody had. I went back to my zone. I told myself it was a trick of the lighting, a reflection, a mannequin someone had left out, though that made no sense in a warehouse full of auto parts. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more true horror stories. And remember, not everything that moves in the dark wants to be seen. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next story.